I think educated students are better citizens, they're better informed voters, I think they're better parents, I think they're better neighbors. I think, if there's anything we need, it's more smart, committed, well-educated people who can be good problem solvers. That's probably the biggest, that's probably the biggest deal. I graduated from the University of Texas in around 1975. I was paying about $500 a year. Even in current dollars, that gives you some idea of why, as a product of the state university system, I find it disturbing that tuition fees are so high now. I've always felt that public university systems in particular, their intent was to provide educational opportunity to everyone, and they should be essentially free. Although I did point out in the book that I think students should be willing to give something in return for that, and I think there are a lot of ways in which people can quote-unquote pay back the investment that society is making in their education, from whether that be public service or some small level of income contingent loans or something like that. But the basic idea is that it should be made much more accessible than it is right now. I think one big reason is that American businesses are less dependent on US workers than they once were.
Yeah.
And at a time when they were mostly located in the US and they were very dependent on a skilled US workforce, they were a very powerful interest group in support of public higher ed. Now that's not really the situation they're in. They have a global talent pool to draw on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, it's a lot cheaper to hire workers who've been educated and been raised and educated elsewhere, so you don't have to pay the costs of creating them. And I think that loss of support, it's not the only factor, but that loss of support from the kind of the corporate power brokers, I think, is part of the story. I think really the most important thing is to educate students, including public university students, about what's going on. I feel like it's so easy when you're here to get caught up in just the details of what classes you're taking and whether you're going to graduate and what you're going to do when you graduate. And I don't think there's enough engagement with this issue of, how much is the Commonwealth really helping you achieve your goals? If we could mobilize more student involvement and participation in this whole debate, I think we could drive it from the bottom up instead of from the top down. Instead of asking, who are the politicians who we should look to? Students should be saying, who do we want to put up there to solve the problem?
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see.